Should China get involved? Should China wait until it's her turn on this path of destruction from the beast? Hey friends, hello and welcome to another video. Today we're going to talk about Israel having attacked Iran and the question about China's involvement in this conflict. The first thing that I would like to say is, and I've mentioned this before in many of my videos, is the main principle guiding China's diplomacy and involvement around the world is the five principles of peaceful coexistence. They date 1953, if I'm not mistaken, and basically it's non-interference. They're not going to interfere in conflicts. They exercise real neutrality, as in they continue to do business with one side and business with the other side. If you think about, for example, the conflict in Ukraine, that's what they do. Yeah, they sell goods to Russia, they buy things from Russia, they sell things to Ukraine, and they buy things from Ukraine. A lot of the issues there is the dual use of some of these things, like the drones. I don't know if you guys saw the Trump parade, the military parade for his birthday, where people would actually, some soldiers were holding DJI drones, which is really funny. But anyway, there's three main enemies that the empire has. I call it the beast. There's Russia, there's Iran, and then there's China. These forces that have successfully managed to engage in wars with two of those. So it's only a matter of time before we get hit with some kind of excuse to engage in a war with China, and that is very concerning, because when you start thinking about the line, when will China engage with the beast? Diplomacy says that this will only take place when it hits its borders, when it hits China's borders. That's when they will engage, that's when there'll be issues, that's when they will go ahead and start military action. And those borders include Taiwan. So the dynamics at play will be very different and very specific to China. But I was reminded, just seeing what's taking place, when Trump said that tweet saying, "Oh, you need to evacuate Tehran." I was like, okay, they're getting ready to do something massive. And that's very concerning. And what I'm saying is, it reminded me of the mandate for leadership of 2025, which was basically like the Republican candidate guidelines for what's expected of Republicans. And in that particular article, page 117 or 177, sorry, it literally says that Department of Defense and the Pentagon ought to be in charge of countering the Belt and Road Initiative. I read the whole thing. I think I was the only YouTuber commentator that pointed that out as something really strange. But yes, the idea of having Department of Defense and Pentagon countering the BRI is such a juxtaposition, because, well, the BRI is basically investment and development and building infrastructure. What has the Pentagon ever built? What has other than that port in Gaza, right? That floating port that served to kill the Hamas leader. And same for DOD. They don't build things, they just destroy things. So that led me to think, listen, if they're going to attack Iran, Iran is one of the most important partners, so a very important partner for China and for BRI. If they wipe out Iran, if they really change regime in Iran, and they impose somebody who's friendly to the United States, forget about BRI projects, so that creates a gaping hole in that new Silk Road that China has been trying to build, right? So it's key, hold on a second, it's key to keep that in mind, because getting rid of Iran, getting rid of that chunk of the BRI, could affect what China wants to do. I tweeted as the main objective might be this. Do you know what I'm saying? I compare it to birdshot and buckshot. When you go hunting, buckshot goes straight to the point, but birdshot kind of like spreads, but still hits what it's aiming at. So this whole hitting around the Middle East, all these things that are in turmoil at the moment, in the end, what they're hoping to is hit the BRI and damage the BRI and damage China. My other question, my other thought about this was, at this stage where Chinese partners or Chinese close relationship countries are getting attacked and getting pummeled, like Iran, and they're hoping from their own eyes, they're hoping to get help from China in different ways, sell them weapons and sell them what they need to defend themselves, like materials or parts for missiles and things like that. That means China would be engaged in the conflict. The same way that people are saying America is selling weapons to Israel, America is selling missiles and equipment to Israel, so that means they are the ones engaged in the conflict. So that kind of involvement would probably put China in a pickle. It will be now part of the conflict. These countries are asking China for help. And because of these principles of non-interference, China will very likely not do it. Will very likely not get involved in the conflict because it's not within its borders. And that's a very difficult sell for a lot of observers. Twitter is really hot these days talking about this. Should China get involved? Should China wait until it's her turn on this path of destruction from the beast? Or should it jump and try to counter before it's too late? That's what people are saying. So that feeling of asking China for help and not getting the help that they want, Iran not being able to understand that China cannot do it, that it goes against China's principle, that it is against what they stand for. Iran's not going to understand it while they're being pummeled by Israel. So when China's time comes to face this beast, they will not be going at it alone. And that's the concerning part. That's what I tweeted. It was like, I understand the principle, but at this time, for Iran, for example, it's not about being principled. It's about, they're gonna change my regime. They're gonna affect our country. We need your help. And China, if China doesn't do it, they're not gonna read it. Oh, there's just principle. They're gonna say, you didn't help me when I needed. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know this diplomatic juggling and how it's going to turn out. But it's, when you want peace, you need to police that peace. You need to enforce that peace. We are all, our inhumanity is part of being human beings. You see it in the animal world. You see it, it is what it is. We kill each other for survival. We kill each other for territory. We kill each other for progression. It's in our nature. But there is a better way. There is a civilized way. But that civilized way, at some point, needs to. Okay, let me wind back to what I was trying to say. there are a lot of people here in China wondering, why are you not helping? Why are you not supporting Iran? Some people argue that, well, Iran kind of like has a favorite, yeah, Russia, but there's also Pakistan. Pakistan has openly, or at least from what I read, supported Iran and said that we will provide ammunition, we will provide weapons, we will provide support if there's a nuclear weapon being deployed and being sent to Iran, then Pakistan will act on it. And the relation between China and Pakistan is a lot stronger than the connection between China and Iran. But still, that buffer, that the proxy, China, Pakistan, Iran, might provide China some cover to provide some sort of support. But this is obviously all behind curtains and all behind the spotlight of what's taking place in communications and public announcements. But I don't see China getting involved frontally unless it takes an attack on its country. I also read somebody saying that one of the reasons why China doesn't involve itself in international conflicts is because they have an unresolved civil war, basically talking about Taiwan, basically saying that their main focus in their development, in their growth, and in their military as well is to achieve reunification with Taiwan. And that is core to their strategies, to their development, to their planning. Everything else is a distraction. Perhaps they learned their lesson with the Korean War, which was a distraction, and the sanctions during the Cultural Revolution, etc. So they are now just focused on Taiwan. Whatever is taking place outside does not matter. Our main objective is reunification with Taiwan, peaceful reunification. Along the lines of that idea, it's important to mention the work that has happened with this influencer, this Taiwanese, as the boss, I think, the gym boss, the huge guy, full tattoo, whatever, that decided to come to China to have a look. 2 years ago, he was a separatist. 2 years ago, he was a person who was very much against China and Beijing and the People's Republic and the Communist Party of China, the CPC. So for a very loud voice against the CPC to come to China says so many things. Among those, that you should not fear come to China. Even if you've had separatist ideas in the past, you should not fear coming to China. If you come here with an open mind, if you come here to really see and correct the narrative. Because what he's saying is unbelievable. He was saying, I mean, it really had me thinking, what amount of propaganda is the DPP sending in Taiwan for people to think the things that he was talking about? It was like people in Taiwan think that China is so backward, so different to what he saw over here. So that, again, that's another influencer that is a huge following, doing live streams in Shanghai. I think it went some other places as well. But this kind of work, it's super important in Taiwan because these are people who changed their opinion, and people with very loud voices who changed their opinion. And perhaps it's going to open the path for more people to come and see for themselves what China really is about. can't remember exactly what he said, but it's like, oh, they didn't have toilets, or they didn't have trains, or they didn't have like. So he gets here is like, the DPP, the DPP has been lying to us. The DPP is nothing but a bunch of liars. This is what this gym boss is saying, and that's gotta hurt the DPP. That's gotta hurt the separatists in Taiwan, and that's a huge win for China. So again, I'm getting a little bit off track, but I'm trying to convey why I think China is not going to engage in these wars directly. Not at all. Number one, their 5 principles of peaceful coexistence, and number 2, their unfinished civil war, their unfinished reunification. That has way more priority than anything else. China first, so to speak, make China united again, is the number one thing for them. So yeah, that's the video here from Ningbo. Thanks so much, and remember guys, if you like this kind of content, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And yeah, I'm really concerned about what's taking place in this region and what is happening to the BRI. I hope really I don't hold any hopes that the beast is going to be rational in any terms, but that the adults in the room are going to be able to find a peaceful way out. Alright guys, take care until I see you again. Bye bye.